Hello. Just kind of streaming because why not? And I'm a little bit bored. And also, I just kind of want to talk about my Cubase as well because it's cool. It's very cool. So, yeah, I'll talk about my thoughts and what I've done so far and just kind of go through it. I'll stream for about an hour and 30 minutes and just finish it up from there. So Cubase is really cool. It's very cool. I'm pretty obsessed with it right now. Ever since I got it, I got it about 5 days ago, and then since then I've kind of just explored it and kind of yeah. So far I've not bought much like plugins and things. I've kind of just got all the free stuff like Spitfire Orchestra, the free one of the free Spitfire, the free Spitfire and the free BBC Orchestra. I've got two plugins that I've paid for so far, which is Epic Brass and Wind, which I'm trying to refund because it sucks. It sounds good, but it sucks in the fact that you can't choose individual instruments. It's a more of an ensemble, collective sound of all the instruments, which is just inconvenient if you want to get like, say if you want to just play the clarinet. And I've also bought Epic orchestral choirs, which is pretty cool. But I plan to get more stuff in the future. I'm looking at another set of choir stuff, which choir plugin, which is pretty cool. But yeah, Cubase is really cool in the sense that it's a lot of management. It's very easy to manage. So I've kind of set up all my strings into one folder here, which I can open and close. I can mute it. I can mute it. I can solo all the strings. Same with brass. Same with woodwinds. Same with percussion. Same with vocals and synths. And it's pretty easy in the fact that you could just like go in. Usually if I want to, I've got like reverb here, all my EQ reverb on each of the folders. So I don't have any reverb or anything on the instruments, just on the folders. It's easier to control. I also have, but depending on the instrument, like certain, say if I'm having like if I want more reverb on the vocal, like specific vocals or something, I could just always put reverb on the specific channel. Same with EQ and everything, any of the effects that you need. Well, it's really easy to set up as well once you've figured it out. I've got Contact 8, I've got Spitfire audio, and I've got another one which I've forgot. Well, I've got Native, which is basically just Contact 8. And once you've kind of set all that up, you kind of just open up a MIDI channel with this, and then select what you want to use here, what instrument you want to use, or what instrument library you want to use, and then you go in, and then you can just pick it. So this is the free version of the BBC Orchestra. So you got all these instruments here. Change things, just kind of play things, and yeah. So if I quickly close this, I'll open up a track that I've finished. Let's get this one. So trailer music. This is the first track I've ever actually properly gave a go at. I made a test track, which is the Helldivers file that you saw, because I gave a go when I was testing out Cubase. I made the Helldivers theme. It's not very good, my version of it, but so I'm not going to show it, obviously. But I'll show you this one because this one's pretty cool. This is my first original. Might be a bit loud. It isn't well mixed, but this is my first proper go at doing something. Well, I've got like lots of effects, lots of synths, and kind of just did things the way I wanted. I'll just play it and talk about it as it plays. It's a bit loud. It's distorting. You can definitely tell that's like it's a bit too loud in the mixing overall. It's like distorting. It's okay. For my first go, it's pretty good. Like, I'll take you through the different things. So you got your brass here. And then it just kind of just sounds like brass instruments, you know? It's just kind of generic music, and then you got your strings kind of. I don't know why the string sounds so bad. Did I EQ it? I must have EQ'd it in a weird way. Oh, it's this. Interesting. So if I was to unmute this, yeah, that already sounds a lot better. I put a stereo effect on it, it seems. But yeah, if you look at here, you can see that I've separated I've got first, second, and my violas. I've separated my. So you can see like a little letter here. That's basically indicating what kind of sound it's doing. So I've got the S. I made it where S stands for staccato, or yeah, it's staccato, and then I've made tremolo. And then, yeah, and then I would have L for legato. And it's kind of the same for all the other instruments as well. Just to like make a uniform and easy to remember where everything is. I really enjoy how Cubase allows you to change the tempo whenever you want as well. So I've got my tempo track up here, and I've kind of just made it where when it slows down into a new bit, it would slow down when it gets into a new bit, or speed up a little bit. Like here, I've made it speed up in this bridge bit where it's meant to be rhythmic and moving, and then it slows down when it gets to the hard, before it gets to the hard hit. Just enough that last couple notes here on bar 24 is just slightly extended to make the chorus hit a little bit harder. There's pretty cool other things as well. Like I've got other plugins. Like here, I've got this really cool synth, like this synth here. It's a sexy synth. It's a cool ass synth. That's a very cool synth. And I got another one here, which is basic. Just playing with the bass. And it's, yeah, you get the gist. And then I've got different effects here. It's just other synthy effects. Just adding texture in the background. When it gets like between the bridges and stuff before it builds up again. And then you got your percussion. Yeah, you get the gist. It's kind of just general percussion. I've not used my Epic Choir things because I got the Epic Choir plugin after I made this. So here I'm just using the free Jacob Collier plugin, which that allows you to change between R, O, E, and for different vocals. And you got your woodwinds. Let's just play it from like here or something. So if you were to play this with the let's say if we were to play here with the percussion, that might sound pretty cool, to be honest. Yeah, there's a cool rhythmic to it. But yeah, it's kind of just a generic trailer music. It's not really anything interesting to talk about. It's just like all the things you would expect to see. There's also like for the bass and stuff, I'm kind of layering just all the bassy stuff. Like you got your bass trombone, your tuba, my heavy synth, bass synth. Anything else? And I've got a rhythmic bit on the bassoon, on the staccato bassoon. So I'll just talk about the main bass first, which is doing the same thing over and over again together. And I kind of got my bassoon in the background, kind of just keeping it rhythmic. You can't really hear the bassoon because everything else is just louder than it, but it is there. It just give him something to do, you know. Okay, this next track is a lot more interesting. I think this next track is actually pretty cool. Let's see. Where is it? Number 4. This is the one that I actually think is going pretty well, which is what I'm currently making here. And I'll talk about all the different things that's happening in it, because there's a lot of interesting different rhythmic bits. I'm kind of going for like a Duel of the Fates type of thing, Like if you've ever heard Duel of the Fates from the Phantom Menace, Star Wars, it's pretty cool. So I'm kind of going for like a similar thing in the fast build up. If it loads, there you go, it's loaded. It might be pretty loud at the beginning, but I'll just play from the start and then go through the end. These 2 bits here, well no, these 3 bits here, from bar 29 to bar 65, those are what I'm currently working on. So, but I'll talk about those later. I'll just play it from the beginning and kind of just go through it afterwards. I don't like that snare, it should be quieter. Yeah, from bar 29 here is all the stuff that I'm currently working on, which is why it sounds unfinished. And then I got a change of scenery here where I've got it. So this is the main part that I'm currently working on. So I've only just started this bit today. I'm kind of running out of ideas to add onto this bit, but I'll figure things out. So you kind of got this same motif going through, which is, so say if I was to play my staccato violin, first staccato violins, my second staccato violins, my viola staccatos, my, let's see, what else, my trumpet staccatos, my piccolo, flute, oboe, clarinet, and yeah, so you hear this little motif all the way through. So that like I've kind of got that playing all the way through, just to, like, have something familiar, just playing all the way through. So and it kind of gets stuck in your head a little bit. But I made it where the second time it hits harder. So you heard there, I've got the trumpet staccato kind of playing. So if I was to unmute everything and then just solo the trumpet, I kind of have that trumpet staccato coming in on the second time just to make it sound different so it isn't too repetitive. It is basically just the same, but just, you know, making it slightly different enough that it's still interesting. And I've also got a second motif. I kind of had the motif playing around on all the different instruments. Like if you hear here, if I was to solo my contrabass pizzicato and my bassoon staccato, you kind of hear it there. Also in the low notes, just to move it about. So it's not just all in the upper range registers of the notes, it's also within the lower range as well, just to make things interesting. I've also got this other one going on. So if I was to solo my legato contrabass and my tuba legato, just to have an extra noise. I kind of have the little motif kind of passed around between, as well as the second motif here, which is a very common downwards motion for like a bass, but it's kind of just adding like a bit of rhythm and a bit of like difference between the hard hits. And then so you have these like three legato notes, which would hit hard with the solos if I was to play with the choirs, I mean. Just to have it hit hard. And then I have the rhythmic bit with the plucks and the bassoon in between, just to have like a bit of rhythm in between, change it up a little bit, keep the thing moving so it's not too slow in between the hard hits. You can hear it there in between the two hard hits, and I kind of just have that playing all the way through, just to, you know, interesting. I've also got this interesting long note here that I've added. I've made it a stab note, and like a stab note, you kind of hit hard and then suddenly go quiet and build the note volume up as you extend the note. So I've kind of done that with the bass trombone here. Just kind of playing a long note all the way through. And the way I've done that, I've kind of just taken a staccato note, a single staccato note, along with the long note. Having the long note slightly quieter than the staccato. I should really make it automated here, just to make it go a little bit quieter halfway through and then build up the volume before it gets to the second one. But I realized when I did that, you couldn't really hear it over everything else. And I kind of wanted to have that extra movement. Well, not movement, just like rather than have it, because you've got all these movements going on in the strings and stuff. And it's kind of just like an extra thing to add in, just like a long extended note that isn't moving about, it's kind of just sustaining itself. Just for your ears to catch on to in the background, rather if you're unable to concentrate on all these strings moving about with the woodwinds. The woodwinds and the strings are kind of playing the same thing. And then there's that motif here. And I've also kind of got the motif here on the flute. So if I was to play the flute, kind of playing its own thing in the background outside of the rest of the rhythm, just to have just another thing moving about. And they're just playing along with the strings. It's more in the upper strings rather than the low strings. So if I was to take everything, if I was to solo everything except for all the bassy stuff, just have all the anything else. Just hear that rhythm going on. It's kind of just generic rhythmic strings and stuff. I've kind of got the staccatos here on 8th notes. Oh no, 16th notes, kind of just like playing. So it's way more interesting rather than having straight 8th notes. So if I was to get all of these notes here, get rid of them, it would make it super boring, and it's way too straight. And if you add the 16th note afterwards, or if I just solo it, I mean, that's like super boring. So if I had all the instruments playing that same thing, you're going to get a bit bored. So naturally I kind of just, put in all these 16th notes here just to keep the rhythm, keep it moving. makes it more intense as well, like it's like trying to rush it. Let's talk about what else. Do I need to talk about? Yeah, let's talk about percussion here. So the percussion, let's talk about the lower ends of the percussion. So that would be the timpanis, tubular bells, and then I can add that on with the basically anything hitting hard. So that would be like the contrabass, tenor trombones, tuba, yeah, those things, and the choirs. So I kind of got the timpanis here, just kind of playing on a straight D note, because we're playing a D minor, D, A, D, just a straight D minor chord. And that's basically all that's hard hitting. I've changed it up a little bit. In the intro, I have the French horns playing in there as well. Did I just move something? I did move something. I have the French horns playing in there as well, which is just add a bit more like buzziness to the kind of hard hits. And if I was to play that along with everything else. And then if I was to compare that to over here, if I was to mute all the rhythmic bits, well, I could just solo all the solo everything that is being used. I reduced the amount of instruments doing the hard hits in this bit because I wanted more instruments playing rhythm and like all the intense moving about. So which is why you have more instruments over here playing the hard hits than you do over here, because in a full orchestra, in an orchestra, if you save your first violin, you're not going to have multiple arms, are you? So you're going to be playing this rhythm bit over here. Oh, that's a bad example because you can barely hear that. Let's just take all of them, to be honest. Let's unsolo everything. But yeah, you're not going to be able to play the hard hits as well as playing the rhythm bits because you don't have 4 arms, do you? You've got 2. And you're playing in your section. So say if you're playing that, you won't be able to play the hard hits over here at the same time. Because you're kind of separating it out. Because you're kind of, when you're writing orchestra, you're kind of thinking about how would they actually play this physically as well. If you were to write this down on like a score or something, that's how I kind of think about it. Like, because I've played in orchestras before, and sometimes you kind of just split up the parts. Like if there is like a overlapping rhythm bit with long notes, you kind of just say, oh, you play this bit, I'll just play this bit. But it doesn't, it just kind of gets in the way. It's inconvenient. It's just to make it easier on like anybody that would play it, which nobody's going to play this, but I kind of like to role play it as if this is going to be used live. But yeah, you're kind of just thinking about that, you know, making it more convenient for the players. Here in this beginning section, let's talk about this section from bar 8 to bar 15. The build up. So you can hear this long playing with the piccolos and the trumpets and the oboe. So I've got the piccolo playing with the trumpet, with the piccolo an octave above, but I've also got the same melody but slightly different ending on the oboe playing 2 bars before, just to add interest. Just to have like some sort of long melody playing in the background, because if I was to take that away, If I was to mute those and just have everything else, it would still sound good, but it would kind of be missing something. It'd be like empty. If you want stuff, I'll play it without it. Yeah, it's like slightly more empty in the beginning bit. So when you have that oboe play come in around bar 9-ish, it kind of adds some sort of thing to lock onto with your ears. And it fills in those empty gaps in between the rhythmic bits. Well, same with this tenor horn trombone here, which is just a hard hit from the beginning, just to have that, just to keep you reminded of that same, like, that same thing, but playing it on its own. Because it's kind of, I'm having it there just to remind you that there might be another one come in, like another hard hit coming in around, which comes in on bar 15. Just to have, you know, it's just like a reminder, a little reminder. Just another little motif. So in this entire bit, I've got 3 motifs. So I've got, you know, the one I showed you, which is the passed around between all the staccatos. This one. That one. That's motif 1. That's the main one that kind of plays all the way through the track. And I've got this other motif on the bass. And then they've got the other motif, which is the hard hits on the D minor chord. So 3 different motifs kind of just passing around each other. Each one kind of slowly, like, well, being played at different times. Can you kind of keeping that rhythm going? Kind of being reminded that it's going to be played again later on in the future. Making sure the listener doesn't really forget about it. And it also, when it does get played later, it feels like it's a part of the track and it isn't just sudden again. Because, like, say if you do forget about it and it plays again, you're going to be like, oh, it doesn't feel like it fits. But if you keep it playing ever so often, not too much to the fact that they get bored of the motif itself, but they're kind of listening for the motif to, but you play it just enough that they're kind of listening, waiting for that motif to come back. And then when it does come back, it's like a what's it called, dopamine. It's like dopamine, you know, kind of tricking the listener into wanting to continue to listen to it, because they're reminding their brain about something. Like when you go to, like, I don't know if it's good, like a good comparison, but it's kind of like when you go to like a what are they called, a gambling place, and you hear all the bells and all the wobbly notes coming in from the gambling machines and stuff. And it's kind of like that same thing where, like, a gambler goes in, they hear those sounds and, like, oh, I want to go gamble. It's kind of like the same thing with this. You're kind of tricking them to wanting to hear the same motif play again. So when it does get played again, it's like, yeah, it's just a little bit of dopamine making them want to listen again, continue listening to the rest of the track. And then I've got this breakdown here. So you got the breakdown here. I've got it slowing down a little bit because I kind of want to slow down the BPM on the tempo. So when the horns come in to do their little melody, it's more natural and feels like it's paced. And I've also got this moving up and down bass line. It's a very generic bass line, but if I was to mute everything, if I was to solo everything, that takes that little bit, which is the choirs, the flutes, clarinets, oboes, and the bass, contrabass, and the second violins. It's kind of just like something keeping it moving, because this melody on its own on the horns. So if I was to unsolo everything, the melody and the horns on its own is pretty slow. On its own, it's so boring. But if you add that into like the rest of the track with all these with the moving bits and on every beat, it kind of just makes it a little bit more interesting, less boring. Like a bounciness to it. Like you don't need to like when you do, you know, plucky notes, you don't need to make it where everything's rhythmic with plucky notes. You could just have it like single notes, like I have here, just kind of underneath the main melody, which is like all the long notes. The melody itself, if I was to play it, it's just like a basic D minor chord into a C sharp, no, D minor chord into an A major, and then a B major, no, B flat major, and then the, you know, G minor back into an A major. Holding this A note here into the A major chord just to make it smoother. I did have it play on the, I did used to have it on play on the French horn, but the French horn kind of had like a harsh timbre to it. Like a harsh, yeah, like just a harsh timbre to it, which is like very buzzy, and it didn't fit. So it, playing it on the tenor trombones, it just felt smoother and more, it just felt easier to digest when you're listening to it. And it's also with the automation as well, having it where it starts from quiet, gets a bit louder, and then quiets down at the end. It just makes it sound like it's being played by actual players. Like it's building up. It's kind of keeping that tension, you know, before it gets into the second section. I don't like this transition here, so I need to fix that transition in the future. But yeah, we're currently on the bits that are new, that I haven't really done much on. This, I might get rid of this entire section. It doesn't really match the rest of the doesn't really match, to be honest, the rest of the track. I could probably move it later on in the piece, but for now I'm kind of thinking about getting rid of it. Here, this is pretty more interesting. Ever since I got these cool choirs, playing discorded clash notes. Yeah, just you know, clash notes on top of each other layered. A clash note is basically just two notes which you know, clash together. Like, you know, how I've got a D and a C here, they kind of clash together. It's hard to explain, but it's kind of just it's just not nice for your ears to hear. But they do have use for them. Like here, I've kind of used it in the sense to have like a tension build up. There's that same motif again, the on the trumpets and the violins. I don't think I have it on the, yeah, I don't have them on woodwinds. I've also got the snare drum kind of supporting it too. I don't like the snare drum, to be honest, but it works in this section. And then I've got like a cool little boom boom playing on the basses. So if I was to take all the bass bits, oh, what else? I think it's just these. Nope. Is that too quiet? I think that's in the wrong register. Interesting. Oh no, I'm a fool. I'm an idiot. I didn't solo it, that's why. There you go. Just kind of playing plucky notes, layering the bass, the bassoon and the contrabass together. And then the tuba and the bass trombone kind of just with it. The main hard hit is on the second beat of every bar, not the first, just to make it more interesting. But I kind of made it where it bounces, which is why I have the contrabass on the strings playing its own on the first beat, just to make it the second beat bounce. Just, you know, add a bit of bounce. Just to have something moving about. No, not moving about, just something bouncy underneath, like a plucks. Because you got all these harsh, clashy notes just playing on every beat alongside this percussion, like a cowbell thing. And I kind of wanted to have like a slower bass note play underneath just to keep that moving, like a little bit of a bounciness to it. Which, you know, like I said many times, I don't know why I keep repeating myself. And then on the cellos, and what else? I think it's just the cello. So yeah, on the cello here, I've kind of got like a elongated melody just kind of playing underneath it all. It's the same thing that I did over here with the oboe, like where my mouse is, and the trumpet and the piccolo, where I've got all like the plucky, moving, fast-moving rhythmic bits, like stabby notes, and then I've got like that long melody playing like elongated, sustained notes underneath it. Just different textures underneath each other layered. There's nothing anything technical or like special about it, but it just kind of just, you know, something cool, you know. This bit here is something I made within 5 minutes. I don't know where to put it. I'm kind of thinking about putting it into a new track, like starting like another track, but I'm not going to do that until I finish this this entire track over here. But this is like a concept thing that I made. There's no build up to it. It's just like the straight example of what I kind of had in my head at the time. Like, it's kind of just like a slow major, like C major, just little melody. Kind of got the horns playing. Like a very simple melody, and I've got like a pluck on the second violins and the cello. Kind of playing after that melody, so I have it just kind of, it's like an answering call, you know. Just like a simple answering call. And then you got your basic long lengthy C major chords on everything. And then you got like a moving D to C. Add like a little bit of clash notes in there with the D on the C major chord. And then you got your elongated C on the thing. Nothing really special about it, to be honest. But yeah, it's just a quiet, like a small example of something that I might add to this track later on. But yeah, it's pretty much everything. Let's just play it one more time up to bar 49, just for, you know, shits and giggles, and then I'll end the stream. There's that motif again. And then here comes the clashy choir, the percussion cowbell on top of it. Yeah, it is what it is. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Pretty proud of this little project thing. Still got tons to add. I feel like I'm only about halfway done on it, but yeah, probably stream again in the future when it's finished, just to show off the changes and stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna end the stream.